Hello, everyone. Welcome to Live Out Loud Wednesdays. Tonight, our topic is going to be childhood traumas and what that entails. They say that childhood trauma is usually geared in between birth and the age of 18. It could be as much as you enduring trauma such as abuse and or witnessing some kind of abuse within your years of birth and the age of 18.
So you all took the test,
We did.
I did take the test.
and I
Yes,
saw some
yes.
scores, but I don't remember whose scores was what, but I saw some scores.
Sigh for me.
Five,
I had a
But
7.
what
7, okay,
We're at a 10.
10, okay.
Yes.
Scored a 2.
I think Devin, you got a 2?
Yes,
I think Devin had a 3.
And
I
just for
got a 2.
everyone to know that the lower the score is, the better the score. The higher score means more trauma that you've endured over your time.
that was my question because I didn't really understand it. And I was wondering, like, well, what does this even so that gives me a different perspective about a lot of things, but that's good. So, yeah, Ebb is first. So are we going in order, talking about everything?
Yes.
I guess that, excuse me, I'm getting like a cold or something, but I guess that I really honestly don't disagree with it. The issues that I started to realize that I had that were linked to childhood really didn't come to adulthood. And they were issues that I dealt with in adulthood. So, like as a child, when I'm thinking back and I'm looking back, um, I have the issues with my dad, but like my mama and my grandmother and my aunties, and I have all these people to thank for making up for it because, like, there was a question, what was it like? Some about you know certain abuse, and I wasn't abused. I got some whoopings here and there, but my as a matter of fact, my mom will whoop me and my mom will apologize. It was weird. I was the only child until I was 11 through my mom. So my mom would whoop me and she would apologize. And again, the only child, she worked hard. My mom was a lab tech in the 80s. So making $15, 14, $15 an hour in the 80s as a single mom. So I really, really didn't experience, like, I think it talked about clothes and poverty or something like, I don't know. I really didn't experience that aspect of life. I pretty much had good a good childhood. I went to foreign language immersion school, like from kindergarten through first grade. I started speaking Spanish at the age of 2. I wish I still had that like that. Like I said, foreign language school. I didn't speak nothing but Spanish, all the way through from age 2 all the way until 5th grade when I moved to the East Side. I guess maybe that's where a little bit of trauma may have came in because my life was altered from living in one area, a really good area where I'd never been in a fight, never got in trouble, anything like that, to moving east. And then when I moved east, it was a whole different ball game. Girls always want to fight you because you had hair or body or whatever the case, stupid stuff that I wasn't used to um, on the west side when I grew up. And so I became a fighter and all that because I had to, like it was survival mode. But like I guess that's where I can associate trauma based off of what I did in the test. So when I look at the test and the questions that the test asked, like realistically, I can say that the score was accurate. Um, However, beyond that score Cause see, you got to think about like years and years down the line. Whereas, like I said, my adult trauma, yeah, I had those things, like, but at the same time, there's other things that I, would have liked to have had. Like, I had a lot of material things. I had all material things, but I would have liked to have more time, you know, more time spent with me, teaching me certain things, So it's like, though the test score said 2, that's me looking at it from 18 and under pair of eyes. When I look at it now, 40 something pair of eyes, I see that that score probably could sit at about a 5 maybe, just because of the dynamics of how, once again, how we were thinking at that age and then how we're thinking now. It's a little different, but the questions asked under the age 18, under the age 18. And it really makes me sad when I look at higher scores, because I'm like, wow, like I didn't feel these feelings as a child, or, thinking back as a child that these things occurred. But to be a child, or to go back in that mindset and be a child and then look at it that way, that has to be difficult. So, did I endure some childhood trauma? Sure. But I know that there are people out here that have endured way more. I was protected. I wasn't allowed to do a whole lot. I didn't learn how to ride a bike, y'all, until I was 9 years old. 9 years old. Without training wheels. Maybe about to be 10. I was really close to turning 10. Like, I was at church on Tuesdays for Bible study. I was at church picnics on Saturday. My grandma was a minister. She led prayer on Thursday, and Sunday I was in church. That was my life as a kid. I was raised pretty much in a senior citizen building when my mom was in school, and I was with my great grandmother helped raise me. So I was with my great grandmother and the prayer band and the people from the church all my life, from the time I was a baby, probably until I was like 9 years old. So what I knew and what I experienced, I didn't experience sexual assault. I didn't experience sexual abuse, or, I had a couple instances where somebody could have or may have had ill will or intent towards me, but I was taught very early on, differently. Like, and I'm not saying that people who endure sexual abuse weren't taught a certain thing, but I was really groomed to be like, hey, somebody messing with me, you trying to mess with me. Let me go tell my mama, let me go tell my grandma, let me go tell my whoever. And so I didn't experience that abuse again. Like, I got some whoopings, I got checked. I mean, I guess, but my mama didn't traumatize me with the things that she did to me as a child. So I had a really good childhood. But as I think about it in adulthood, it's like there were some things that I could have benefited from having more of, if that makes sense. So that was my score and my little share about my score.
Well, for me,
Counter or
huh? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
For me and my score, well, I didn't even know what my score was. So thank you, Davina, for letting me know. It's actually better than I thought that it would be. Because I did endure a lot of abuse as a child. Um, some disciplines like whoopings, stuff that's regular like that, but my mother was very young when she had me. So, you know, my mom, she fought me, like I remember times where I would try to stop my mom from driving after drinking or something like that, and like she would fight me, like fist fight me. I would run away from home and she would fight me. And so it just became like a normal thing to me. Like I just I don't know. I never like told the school or like child protection or anything like that because I just felt that it was just regular. Like that's just that. Like your mama punch you up or smack you, and that's just what it is. I also got whoopings too, you know. So it just was a normal thing. As far as poverty, we live poor. I'm from the hood where like it take 3-4 houses of kids to come together to complete a meal. You bring the bread, you bring the lunch meat, you bring the cheese, you bring the, you know what I mean? Like that's how I really grew up. And it's like, you know, when you live in that, it's normal to you. And where I'm from in Chicago, it's pretty much like segregated. Like if you're in the hood, you in the hood. You got to drive really, really far to see something different. So none of this stuff really became abnormal to me until I moved to Minnesota. And then I started seeing the difference. Like, oh, okay, these people live in nice places. They got grass, you know, stuff like that. But it's kind of crazy because it's like the whole time in my mind is just like, I never saw anything wrong with what was happening. I used to feel some type of way. That's what made it seem wrong to me, is because of my feelings. I used to feel like, how could my mom do this to me? Like one time my mom gave me 2 black eyes, like back to back. Like one time because of something I did, like I ran away, and then the second time because her friend told me not to let her drink. So the one eye was healing, and then I got popped in the other one for some other stuff. So I mean, it hurt me to see like that she'll do that to me. You know, when I looked at myself in the mirror, like, dang, you messed up. You know, like that kind of hurt me. But in terms of like it was abnormal, it wasn't. Like I see my cousins get they mama hit them, smack them upside the head with a tennis racket. You know, whatever they could get their hands on. Or and if they can't get their hands on something, they just gonna hit you like that. So how it affect me as an adult? Well, duh, I've been in an abusive relationship since my first relationship. You know what I'm saying? I associated the abuse with love. Not to say if somebody didn't hit me, I didn't think that they loved me, but it was just like when they did hit me, it was like, okay, well, this makes sense. I've been dealing with this since a kid. Like this just what comes along with it. And the crazy thing about that is that my mom didn't even deal like in domestic abuse relationships. You know what I'm saying? Like I've seen people fight over my years, like significant others, but as far as like the way I was raised, my mom didn't play that. Like I think I seen her get into a fight maybe twice my whole childhood with a man. You hit her, she gone. She not finna play no game. So it was that bringing up that I had. And what was crazy about it is that I started to do that to my children, hit them inappropriately, right? It's one thing to spank your child, but when you turn around and you backhand your child or you punch your child, right? That's not right. And because I was raised that way and I seen other people raised that way, when I started to raise up my little kids, my little son is like, oh, you could get punched, or my daughter, you know, you run away, I'm gonna beat you up. And I'm so grateful to God that I know differently now. You know what I'm saying? Before I really, really messed my kids up. You know what I'm saying? Like I stopped doing that to them when the abuse that I was enduring as an adult from men really made me think like, why is you beating on them when you don't like somebody beating on you? You know what I'm saying? Even though I had been beat on by my mom, is where I got the behavior from. But when I started getting hit by a man because he was trying to control me, that's what made me think like, well, how's you hitting on your kids trying to control them? You know, to me, it was the same thing. It's no different. So then I stopped hitting my kids and started really talking to them and, you know, stuff like that. You know, trying to just break that cycle and break that pattern of putting my hands on them and stuff like that. Do I think my mom loved me though? Absolutely. I think my mom did the best she could with what she had, 13-year-old mother. So I don't need, like when I was answering the questions, I should have probably answered them at that time, you know, because now my feelings feel way different about the stuff that I endured growing up. Like I'm not mad about it. I'm not hurt about it. I don't want no pity about it. Like, you know, I love my mom and I'm not upset about anything that happened. You know, I just feel way different about it. So yes, it was traumatizing and it kind of created a path to my adulthood, and some of that residue is still here, you know. But as far as emotionally, I don't honestly feel like any of those things affect me emotionally today because I forgave her. You know, I'm okay coming up the way that I came up, because it helps me appreciate things a whole lot. You know what I'm saying? Coming from nothing, you appreciate the smallest things in life. You know what I'm saying? And I'm a very grateful person. So it's like I'm grateful that God put me where he put me to experience the things that I experienced, because they made me who I am today. Now, had you would have asked me that at 18, I still had resentments towards my mom. I still wished I had nice things like the people that lived over in Blue Island where my grandma lived. You know what I'm saying? But because of, how God has just showed me things and how he's healed my heart, I'll just feel different. So it was nice to see, and come to find out it wasn't that bad. I'm only a 5. You say 5, the lower the number, the better. So that's kind of good. So that's my take on everything.
It goes on you, Miss Janet.
So I got a 7. I totally agree with it. But I didn't think prior to taking the test that I had a lot of childhood trauma. It makes sense because, sorry, it makes sense to me after taking the quiz, because I realized I had to do something to be attracting the relationships that I've attracted as an adult. The abusive relationships and the domestics and the me not knowing my worth and things like that. It was actually really helpful to take the quiz because, again, I personally didn't really think about childhood trauma until I actually took the quiz, and I took it and I was answering questions. I'm like, okay, makes sense. So for me, I feel like it was really inevitable. I come from a Cuban household. So my mother and my father, they are from Cuba. I mean, they came in 1980 together. They had no family here, literally just the two of them. And in Cuba, not sure, I'm sure most of us know, but it's a communist country. There's a lot of poverty. So they went through a lot during their childhood. My mother was raised by her stepfather, and her mother just kind of left her there, just whatever, for him to raise her. And this man molested her and, did a lot of crazy things to her. So I get why, she is mentally disturbed the way that she is. It's a little frustrating for me though, even as an adult, because I think back to how she was mentally abusive towards me and my brothers. And again, I get it. You come from something, but, kind of like Veronica said, you got to want to do better. You know what I'm saying? You got to realize like, okay, I got kids of my own now. Obviously, what I endured wasn't pleasant. I didn't feel good about it. You know what I'm saying? So let me do something different, because that's how I look at it with my kids as well. For me, I didn't experience the poverty until, so my father was in the streets. We lived in Chicago as well. He was in the streets. So when we lived in Chicago, I kid you not, like we were living well, real well. But then my father caught a case, and that's how we ended up in Minnesota. He did some federal time. Now going to Minnesota, coming from a family where my father was a breadwinner, my mother did nothing. She was literally dependent on my dad for everything, which again, I made a vow to myself that I would never do that. I would never, ever do that. I would never allow a man to be the sole provider in my house because of what I endured. We literally hit rock bottom. We went from really good living, I'm talking minks in the 80s, to government cheese. You know what I'm saying? To we're standing in food shelf lines, and nothing wrong with it. You know what I'm saying? But for me, I was like, wow, as a child, you don't understand that. It's like, dang, we were just all right. And now we don't even know where we're going to get our next meal. She had, my brothers were stealing from stores and I'm like, what's going on? She moved us from Chicago to Sandstone, Minnesota, where it's like it was super racist, and we were living with people, and it was a mess. It was a hot mess. I can totally see now as an adult why I have all the trauma that I have. For me, it's more mental. It has been physical with my adult relationships, but my trauma, I feel the reason to why I was even in those domestic relationships is because I have some, you know what I'm saying, understanding of my, what I've endured as far as the mental anguish, you know what I'm saying? Not knowing my worth, seeing my mom basically follow my father around all the country because here it is, you doing this time. I don't care that my kids are little, and I don't care that they have to go to 8 schools in the 8th grade. You know what I'm saying? Like, who cares? I'm going to do whatever I need to do to follow you because, and it just now, as an adult, I look back and I'm just like, man, she put us through it. She truly, truly did. And it's frustrating because we don't have these conversations, but if ever we do, there's no accountability whatsoever. None. And I realize that sometimes it's just not worth even having a conversation. It's kind of a healing process that you just got to go through on your own. Because I'll never get an apology from her. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. We just move on. We pick up our pieces, and that's kind of what I'm trying to work on. But I'm not surprised after taking the quiz that I got a 7. But I never got beat, but she used to do stuff like slap me in my face and, stuff like that. But like a beat down, like I ain't never got a beat down. But with her, it was really, really mental. And then my brother was molested, and really, 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 really took me up because I'm extra anxious when it comes to my kids. I don't allow my kids to go anywhere. I mean, when my kids were little and I'm changing their diaper, like I'm double checking areas just to make sure that they ain't been touched and it don't look different. You know what I'm saying? And I blame, God forgive me for this, but I kind of put fault on my mom for that. My brother was 5 years old. My mother, she was just real oblivious, allowing, this man that she called her friend spend in her house. And, oh, we're going to have me and your son out in the living. Yeah, and this took advantage of my brother, and the mental abuse, like, what really hurt me the most.
I can understand all of those.
So, working out past that.
I think you're very strong. You're beautiful and you're worthy.
Know that.
Yep.
Own that.
Healing.
Know that. Own that.
That, trust me, he's gonna take all those broken pieces and he's gonna put them all together in due season.
I will say, Janet, if you take away any of those pieces and parts, you will not be the woman you are today. And so God puts us through what it is that he believes we can handle. And for some weird reason, even doing through all of the trauma, we had to go through that to be able to come out how we are today. I've scored the highest, a 10. And as painful as it is to relive all of that, I wouldn't take any of it away because I love the person I am today. I truly love the person I am today. And so if I had to go through it all over again, I probably would not have a problem with doing so due to the fact that I know who I am today and I love me to death. I love how far I've came. And for people to know who I was then and to see who I am now, the constant reminder of, damn, you made it. And you are a beautiful woman, is enough for me. Like that is rewarding enough for people that I have in my life now to not know what I've been through, to see one of my family members and or friends of the family that come around and think like, oh my God, like look at you. Would have never thought that you would have made it this far due to everything you've endured in your life. My story started very young. Um, my mom and dad wanted a boy so desperately. My dad did not want another girl. My mom didn't really mind, but she wanted to be able to give my dad what it was that he was missing. And so along here came Davina. So I, from the beginning, was just a disappointment because I wasn't supposed to be a girl. And my dad decided to name me Davina, which is a Hebrew abbreviation to David. Um, I think life was okay for my first 3 years. And then all of a sudden, my mom ended up pregnant again. And that time it was a boy. And so as soon as my brother was born, I was like out of the picture. I was like a nobody. I was not seen. I was not heard. I just was not thought about. I automatically inherited a responsibility to either look after my brother or go and hang out with my two older sisters to tell on them about what they were doing. And if I missed any of that, then yes, I got spankings, not from my mother, but from my father. Um, I was grounded a lot if I didn't tell. I wanted to have a relationship with just anybody in the house. And so I didn't want to tell on my sisters, but I didn't want to get a whooping either. And so it's like you got to pick and choose like what end is going to be hotter. Um,
Right.
so I was always just grounded. And I remember there was one night I was 7 years old. I was grounded and I had a pencil and I drew a picture of a S on my sheets. And my mom came in and she seen that I drew an S on my sheets and started chasing me around the house trying to whoop me. And my dad was asleep and I woke him up and he was so mad. He clotheslined me and punched me in my face and he broke my nose in 4 different places. My mom was an at-home nurse, and so I didn't get to go to the hospital. My mom patched me up. Was I ungrounded? No. I was grounded now longer. And I just have everything removed out of my room so I can't write on my sheets again. Sheets that could have been washed and were washed, and everything came out. My dad was the breadwinner. We had money when my mom and dad were together. And so we really didn't want a need for anything. But I don't think that that was the brighter end as well, is because I had older sisters. So if I got something that one of them wanted, automatically I had to give it away. I had to give them it. And I had to take whatever was left. And it was like, no, I don't even want anything then because it doesn't even make it feel. Maybe 9 years old. We moved to St. Paul from Maplewood and we were dirt poor because my mom didn't work. She was an at-home mom. And so immediately, yes, we went on to assistance and we lived in a place where my mom rented out rooms to be able to keep up with the rent. And at that time, my mom and dad gave us all choices of who it is we wanted to live with, mom or dad. My oldest sister was not my father's, so therefore my oldest sister automatically stayed with my mom. My second sister decided that she wanted to go with my dad. And me and my brother.
Did we lose her?
I think so. She'll come back. But there she is.
Hey, ladies, some comments.
Hi, everybody.
Okay.
Blessings to you too. Hi,
Hey,
Dominique. Definitely.
Sorry,
There you go.
the technical
Cheryl.
difficulties that we're having. God must know that this is a very difficult subject. I don't know, like I was saying, when my mom and dad split, we ended up going into bad poverty. My mom started renting out rooms. We were on welfare. Yes, then we didn't know what meals we were going to eat. Mom was now back working and she was never home to see what exactly was going on in the house. And at first I thought like my two older sisters were just bad. Like my oldest sister used to run away all the time. And I used to be like, why is she just causing my mom all of this grief? Like my mom gives her all of the attention. Like, what is her problem? Well, she ended up running away. She went and stayed with my grandma. And my mom decided then to start leaning in and zooming in on me, which I wanted attention. And I didn't realize, like, sometimes you don't have attention for a reason. Sometimes getting attention is not good. And my mom started sending me off with her friends and saying, you know, hey, go with him. And I remember the first time I ever went off with one of her friends, he took me, he got my hair done, I got my makeup done, he bought me some clothes, I got my nails done, and I was like super excited. And we showed up at his house, and I was confused, like, why are we at your house? And I asked, could I call my mom? And I called her, and she was just super upset on the phone and said, oh, I really need you to do this favor for me. Like, just be a big girl and just do this. I was 10 years old, still confused at what it is you're talking about. And she said, never mind, just come home. I knew you weren't going to be a big girl about it, and I knew you weren't going to be able to do this for me. God damn it, Davina, I just really needed you to do this for me. I thought that you could. I thought that you were big enough. And for some weird reason, I just wanted her to care about me, and I just wanted her to love me. And I ended up doing what it was that she wanted me to do. And I slept with people for her from the age 10 until I was 17. She sold me day after day, night after night. And I was just stuck in a world of, I didn't understand what was going on. To where I then became a teenager and wanted to start dating. And when I started dating, I wanted to start to tell my boyfriends what was going on at home. And boyfriends weren't understanding it till when whenever we would get into an argument, it was, you nasty bitch. You're doing tricks for your mom, like your family's all messed up and this, that, and the next thing. So it just continuously made me feel dirty and wrong in every area, to where I didn't even want to date anymore. But then I realized at some point in time that I started then lashing out, thinking like I was taking ownership of myself and no longer wanted to do this for my mom. But if I'm going to sell myself, I'm going to sell my damn self. Like nobody's going to get money from me but me. And the reality of it is I was lashing out. The reality of it is I was in self-destruct mode and no longer cared. And I went through self-destruct mode until I was probably 25. I brought two children into my destructive mode into this world. And so was I a good parent? Probably not. But I had all these different learned behaviors. Also, during those courses of times, I had family members, male family members that knew my mom was doing this. And so they just wanted to get in on it. I couldn't trust anyone. Everyone that I've ever trusted in my life, I felt like failed me. They weren't here for me. There was always some kind of underlying personal gain. And so trust was very, very hard for me. I kind of just buried all of that after I had my third daughter and said I was going to move on in life and I was going to try to do the best, to not be in my self-destruct mode and to not let that determine who I am as a person. I registered back into school. I ended up graduating school. I went to nursing. I just started burying myself into work. But then again, I wasn't home for my children, but I was like so overprotective of them. I didn't allow them to go anywhere. You want to go to whose house and stay the night? Not happening. Anybody and everybody and their mama can come stay the night at my house, but you will not go and stay the night at anyone's house. And I never told them why, because I felt like there's a difference between an adult life and a child's place. And I don't believe a child would be able to handle my traumas. And so I never talked to my kids about what happened to me in my life and why it was I was the way I was. They just thought I was just this horrible parent. Oh, she never lets us go anywhere and we can never do anything. No, you have a house full of food and anybody and their grandma can come stay the night. But I constantly told them that there's monsters out here. And my job is to protect you from all of these monsters. Just because in my world, my monsters were my family. My monsters were older men. And they were lurking around every goddamn corner. And so I continued to try to just rise up and just be the best version of me that I could be. The only thing that I never did was I never confronted my mom about it up until maybe, I want to say 6 years ago. She had moved to Florida and I wanted to have a conversation about it because I just wanted to know why. I needed some kind of closure. When I called and I spoke with her, she wasn't willing to talk about it over the phone. So we had planned for her to come back to visit. The year that she was supposed to come back to visit, she was murdered. That was like the hardest time and the most traumatizing time for me because I didn't get my closure. And at that time, I think I was just a ticking time bomb ready to explode because I needed that. I know now that regardless of whatever I do in life, I will never get that closure. And I'm going to always have to deal with it. But on the flip side of that, I blamed my dad for a lot of that. That if you would have just stepped up and been a dad, because it takes two, I probably wouldn't have had to go through any of it. And I didn't talk to my dad for a very long time. And finally, he came around after my mom's passing and said, I wish I would have had a better relationship with you two older girls. And I said, you think? And he was like, I don't know what happened. And I said, I don't know. But I don't think I'm ready to really talk about that. He said, no, let's talk about it. Like what happened? And even my middle sister didn't have a clue. And so we all started talking about it. And we learned at that time that the reason my oldest sister was always running away is because my mom was also doing it to her. My mom started off doing it to her. And when she was no longer in the home, it came down onto me. And so
I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I am so sorry.
there's nothing to be sorry for. Like I said,
Girl, my heart is broken.
You take any of it away, I would not be who I am today.
Very true. And I understand the strength behind it. But here's what I want to make sure that we put out there too, and just even for yourself. Yes, you have gained strength behind it. Yes, you have grown beautifully behind it. But I want people to know that it is okay to open your mouth and say something to somebody, to talk to somebody, to not bury these emotions and these things inside of yourself. You know, so many people that have gone through what you just shared are not as strong as you. You know, they kill themselves, they self-destruct in so many other harder, more harsh ways. And, you know, I don't understand what you went through at all. And I can't even resonate with that as far as having happened to me. But I do know, and I hope you know that you are like one of the strongest women I know. And I am so when I say I'm sorry, I'm not sorry in a pitiful way. I'm sorry that you didn't get a chance to be a little girl because somebody took that from you. And so many people took that from you, but the one person that you trusted the most took that from you. And I can't, my heart is with you. I love you. And I just want to say that I love your resilience, your strength, your ability to share that openly. And I just hope that it can help somebody else see that they can come forward and they can talk about what's going on or what's happened to them. Um, but you got my heart, and I love you, sweetheart. And I'm sorry, truly.
Amen. Oh
Yes,
God, I love you.
I love you guys too.
and you know
I
when
can't
we listen
stand it.
to you, like we on other episodes you talked about how you a hugger and how you still show up to love people. Like I know me, if I had to went through a portion of that, I would be so closed off. You just amaze me how strong you are. You still show up and you still open to loving people and being loved. And that right there just says so much about you. Like you're just a phenomenal woman. And I'm just
Man.
grateful to be able to, share this space with you and watch
Amen.
you, through life and heal and grow.
Amen.
I'm
I
still
have
healing.
to.
I'm not fully healed, but
Oh, it's a process.
for
You
any
are
woman out
so
there that
strong.
has been through any of it, like Ebony said, yes, the portion that I didn't have was a listening ear, and I didn't realize that there is a lot of listening ears. And had I known to just open my mouth and say something, it probably could have got a little bit better. Um, I have so many friends that have been adopted and they complain that they were adopted, and I'm like, damn, I just wish like I could have been in your shoes, like you're complaining about that. Like I've grown up to see so many people on so many different ends complain about what they didn't have or what they should have had. And it's like only if you knew. And I think that life started to get a little bit better for me once I realized like I have these beautiful children and it is my job and my duty to protect them at all cost. And I started to feel bad like once they became a little bit older and they were saying like how I was just this bad mom, but once they became adults, I shared my story with them. And it was a very big wake up call to all of them of I understand and now I don't blame you for anything that you did because I wasn't traumatizing to them. I, wanted them to be kids. I wanted them to be able to have a childhood. I wanted them to have an education. I wanted them to have everything that I didn't have in life. And I think for the most part, my girls are good. And I'm so proud to know like I fought through something and God gave me the strength to fight through it all to be able to raise three beautiful young ladies and a great son. Um, that alone gives me the strength to be able to say that I made it this far, to be able to now turn around and see that they're adults and they made it. And they made it unscathed and unharmed from the monsters in this world, at least. It might not have been through everything, but from the monsters, that was my biggest portion of it. Like, my child will not be a victim of this, not under my watch.
Amen. I love you so much, Davina. I love you so, so much, girl. Like this, just as a mother, I'm just again, like Ebony said, we know what you've been through has made you who you are. We get that. My heart goes out to you, and you're so strong. I can't wait until you're fully healed. I can't wait to see the woman that you're already like blowing me away with your strength and everything that you stand for. And this is not even you at 100% healed. Girl, you're gonna be on fire. Like I love you. I love you. I love you. And you are so, so strong. God is so good to even have held you up and got you in this position where you are able to speak your story and help somebody else and protect your children like you did. I love you.
I love
You're
you too.
everything. You're everything.
So with childhood trauma, listening to the four of us and how we all have so many different views, like I'm sitting here thankful. I'm thankful and I'm grateful for so many things. The ability to, I guess the same with me as I was guarded and protected because my grandfather did something to my mother, her father. And so I believe that my mother gave me what you gave your kid because of what my mom endured with my grandfather. And so being with my great grandmother and my grandfather, who was my mother's father. So my great grandmother that raised me is the mother to my mother's father.
Mhm.
When I was a little girl, my grandfather had me, okay? Like I was at his house by myself several times as a small girl. But I think what happened at that time was it was Vietnam, and he was coming out of alcoholism, and by the time I came along, he was just older. But I recently found myself asking myself, like, why didn't he hurt me?
Mm.
You know? And then I found myself feeling hurt for my mom. And I've never honestly known anybody, Davina, to be as honest as you were just now. And this is so empowering. Like, it is so empowering. Like, this is what I see why your heart is so strong and really passionate about your sector of why you are a part of Women Empowered. Because your strength is unmatched. And I'm grateful to know you, and I'm grateful that you were able to open up and share. There are a lot of people that either are on here that may know somebody, may be listening, may have things that they've endured, and may be able to share now just because of you.
Absolutely.
So thank you. And I just want to say I love you again, and that I'm grateful for you.
Or even the parents that, are oblivious and don't know to ask their children, questions about whether or not somebody has done something to you. Like, this is opening doors in every aspect. Like, we have to be mindful. Like, we have to be, conscious of the world that we live in. Like, there are true predators out here that prey, on our beautiful, beautiful babies, so we have to stay diligent on asking questions, making sure that nobody's threatening you. Are you scared? Paying attention to how they act. You know what I mean? Because, this is just a prime example that, granted, it was your mother, doing these hateful things, but this could be happening, like you said, your sister, she was running away from home. You guys never knew why.
Mm-hmm.
I just
See what I'm saying? And a parent that doesn't know to ask those questions can listen to this and say, you know what? Let me talk to, little Susie, because she's kind of been running away, make sure nothing's going on in her personal life, So this is very empowering. Again, you blew me. You just blew me away with that. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna pray for you. I'm gonna pray for you, and I know you're strong. I know, girl. Listen, if I need a lifeline, I'm gonna call on you. I know you're strong. I know you are. But you're healing. Your healing process. I'm gonna just pray. I'm gonna just pray over that, baby. I
If you would
really.
have asked me 3 years ago, I would have thought that I was healed. I felt 3 years ago that I was fine. Um, I think all of that opened back up when my mother passed. And it was
Mm,
like that slammed a door in my face, and I wasn't prepared for that because I thought, like, I'm going to get my closure and I'm going to get some answers. And maybe sometimes you don't need answers.
Do you
Maybe
ever maybe the answer? Do you ever think that, because as we know, God, right? God is an amazing God. Do you ever
yes.
think that maybe the answers were not what you really needed to hear?
Mm-hmm.
And that's
And
why, you know what I'm
or they
saying?
did too
Close that
much for
door.
the human.
Right,
Believe it. I mean, was I angered by it? Yeah. I carried
right.
that anger around with me for almost a whole year of I felt like I was robbed all over again.
Mm,
But then yes, I had to come to the conclusion that maybe that was something that I would not have been able to handle.
yeah,
And God is not going to put me through anything that I cannot handle. And so
amen.
I now am able to deal with that. Am I okay with it? No. But do I have to deal with it? Yes. And so I'm still learning how to deal with that. On top of that, like I said, I didn't tell my children about my backstory up until not too long ago. So telling them has also opened up cans. Um, it was just like, a gate was opened. Now me and my sisters, we talk more about just little things in life of what happened. And so there's like all of this conversation that's going around, which sometimes can be a bit much when you think that you are in the process of healing and then you got to continuously now backtrack.
Yep.
Somebody else now's
Mhm,
heard this and they want to know some details on this. And
Yep.
it's like, can you let
mhm,
my wound heal instead of just continuously ripping it open? It's not for everybody to know. If you didn't hear about it when it was told, then maybe it wasn't for you to hear about it. And so I still to this day I get phone calls from just random family members wanting to know. And it's like, are you wanting to know because you want to help? Or are you wanting to know because you're trying to be nosy?
Mm-hmm.
And trying to decipher the two is very hard. Of I don't want to shut anyone out, but I don't want to continue to air my laundry on a daily basis.
right. Respectfully, rightfully. That's a lot.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure that somebody's going to be empowered by this, and it's just amazing to, open and show people that it's okay. Like Eb was saying and Janet was saying, it's needed because we live in a world where everybody wants things to look a certain type of way, and they
True.
worry about how other people will view them. But when you go through stuff like that, that's not your fault. And it's like the only way you're going to heal from it is by getting it out and talking about it and coming to terms with it. I'm just really proud of you for sharing that, especially in this
Amen.
space. You're just really strong. And like, I wish I could give you one of those hugs right now. Just,
Air
Thank
hug.
And this is why we're doing what we're doing. This is why we do what we do. We all have a story. We all have different areas of our stories that are intense and that we need to bring forth and create spaces and create things for women and to empower them and to help them to continue to heal and grow and develop because this life ain't nice, you know? And that's why we need to rely on God's love and God's strength to make sure that we pull through and that we pull each other through. Because at the end of the day, without that, what else is there? You know what I mean? So
Amen.
we need to just be here to strengthen each other and, continue to push forth what we're doing because we got some amazing things in the works, which this just gave me an idea for a ladies retreat but we'll talk about that later.
Yes.
So,
Amen.
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 All
Well,
right. On that
who's
note, we
time
need
to
to
get
get on prayer line. On that
yeah,
note, we need to
we
get on
need to
prayer
get
line.
on prayer line.
Thank you.
Hi, Dee
Yes,
Dee.
yes.
Let me give you a virtual hug. There you go.
Here,
Hugs, everybody.
we love
Hi,
you
Alicia,
guys.
Miss Cheryl. See y'all in a little bit.
prayer time, y'all. Head over
All
to
right.
the
Prayer line.
Bye.
Love you all.
Bye.